We're waiting.
Believed as if they're real. And yeah, this is where we get to the
Uh-oh, we get the tape delay problem. Forrest, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Forrest, you're on the air.
Hey, I just wanted to ask if you guys are aware that atheism is actually a religion.
No, it's not. Who do we worship exactly? So I'm confused. What definition of religion are you using?
Well, my definition of religion is you have to have blind faith in what the scientists tell you in order to be atheist.
No, first of all, atheism is the rejection of the claim that there's a God. It's not necessarily a positive assertion that there is no God. And my position of not believing that a God exists isn't based on what scientists have told me. It's based on the fact that all the claims for God have failed to meet their burden of proof. And when I accept things that I find from science, I don't accept it blindly by any stretch of the imagination, and it's not contingent on what any scientist says. It's about the information and the evidence for it. And if I can't understand it, then I can't believe it. And if I'm not, you do realize that science includes these ideas of exploring the world, evaluating evidence, and then submitting that to other people to see if they can repeat your results, that the propositions need to be testable and falsifiable, and that the claims about gods don't fit science and don't fit any sort of under which we should believe them?
See, your faith is in the scientists because
No.
things like evolution cannot be observed.
Science produces... Evolution is observed, by the way, but I don't... What's your definition of faith? Because you say I have faith in science. My definition of faith is the excuse people give for believing something when they don't have I have good reasons.
But you're believing something just because someone told you.
No, I'm not. I'm believing the evidence. I'm not believing anything just because somebody told me. That's what you do.
There's no evidence to prove evolution. That's why it's only a theory.
No. Okay, first of all, a theory in science is the highest thing that it can be. There's nothing higher than a theory. A theory is a hypothesis that has been confirmed and tested, that is falsifiable, that is supported by all of the evidence, and is our current standing best explanation. It's not a pronouncement of truth. Evolution is observable. It makes predictions. We have found predicted Tiktaalik and other fossils. You just so you don't understand science, and you don't understand why we accept science. Do you go to the doctor?
No, I don't. Fossils don't prove anything.
You don't go to the doctor?
Well, I have about 5 years because
sure. Okay.
Most of what I do.
How about a dentist?
Well, I haven't been to a dentist in about 10 years.
Okay, but you've been once, right?
Well, I mean, that's regardless of the fact that what you're putting blind faith.
Cavity. Have you ever had a cavity?
Never.
Okay. Have you ever been sick where you needed medical treatment?
Broken arm.
Okay, you broke your arm. How did you know it was broken?
The bone was sticking out.
Okay. How did you know how badly it was broken? Was there more damage inside that wasn't directly observable by looking down and seeing a bone?
I mean, I don't see how this is going to prove evolution. I mean, evolution...
I'm not trying to prove evolution. There's no way that in the course of this call and the remaining 5 minutes that we have left on the air, I'm not going to prove evolution to you because your mind is already such that nothing is going to convince you now. I'm talking about the nature of faith and evidence. I'm trying to get you to a point where you realize that there are things that you believe for good reasons and things that you might believe where you don't actually have good reasons, and those are the things that we would say you believe on faith.
Well, here's the thing. If science is not observable, then it's not actually science. It's something that has to be taken on faith.
Yeah. Which is it's a really good thing that we have tons and tons and tons and tons of observable evidence for evolution.
Well, I would dispute that. I mean, there's no missing.
Okay, do you have any expertise in this area?
Well, I've studied it for a long time.
Cool. Have you published any papers that debunk science, that debunk the science of evolution? Because the person who shows that evolution isn't actually scientific and is a faith-based position would get a Nobel Prize, would be published all over, it'd be front page news everywhere. Why haven't you done this?
Well, see, here's the thing. Scientists only give credence to peer-reviewed.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah. So why don't you, before we get to the there's a conspiracy against you, why don't you paper for peer review?
Because you pretty much have to go to like an Ivy League college, which you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then
why don't the intelligent design advocates do this?
Because if you're not in their little club, if you're not agreeing, if you're not writing papers they agree with, they're just gonna like blacklist you. They're gonna just throw out the paper.
So you think science? You think the science process is some sort of little club that only accepts the things that they already agree with?
Yeah, I don't agree with like most of science. I think most of science is bunk.
Okay, bye.
I believe.
Look up the science on how I disconnected your call, because that shit ain't bunk.
Yeah, I was going to make the point that that technology is the fruit of the labor of science, right? Every bit of technology that we have was from scientific investigation. Golly, that all works, and aren't we using a whole lot of it during this call?
I think the bulk of science is bunk, and that science is a little club where they shut out people who disagree. The fact of the matter, if you would bother to investigate at all, is that science thrives on the exact opposite. Attempting to falsify the findings of other scientists is the bread and butter of science. It's how we figure out whether or not we're deceiving ourselves. It is the people who overturn the long-held public opinions from other scientists to show this new discovery contradicts this. Those are the people that get the Nobel Prizes. Those are the people that are pushing science forward. Science is the antithesis of what you describe, but religion is exactly what you describe. It has a dogmatic process, and it says these are the things that one is to believe. And anybody who tries to come in and say, hey, wait a minute, the earth isn't actually 6,000 years old, that is anathema to religion. But if you could prove that the earth is closer to 6,000 years old than it is to 4.5 billion, science would accept it because it's about the evidence. Now, that's not to say that there's not corruption, information that comes from scientists. We know about people who falsified things. But to write off the method, to say that it's basically a conspiracy theory, that's bad enough. But when you say things like, I think the majority of science is bunk, I don't know what happened to you, and I don't know how to fix it in a phone call, but I certainly hope that you sit down and realize that you're lying to yourself, because you don't actually believe the bulk of science is wrong. You called on a phone or used a computer to get to us.
Try living a month without technology and see how far you get, and without reason. And then try living a month without religion and see how far you get. We're doing great without religion.
when the doctor tells you that you have a disease and offers you the X-rays, the scans, the blood test results, and things that you don't understand, I think you could make a case, hey, you're taking it on faith, which is why the smart thing to do is to get a second opinion. And opinion is science doing more. I don't see anybody getting a second opinion on what their pastor says very often. All right, last one for today.